Torah guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah nation.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Yahshua and Yahudah. Listen, we the people of the book broadcast is going down. Declaring to Yaakov and Yahudah, you need to wake up and turn to Yahuah through faith in Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, the priest that is after the order of Melchizedek. That is the only way you are going to be given access into Yahusha's kingdom. It's the only way you're going to be established in the earth. It's the only way he's going to connect you to him as his people. You have to follow the procedure. You have to go along with his process. You can't do it on your own. You can't just turn to Yahuah. You got to turn to Yahuah with a sacrifice. It's got to be presented by the high priest. You got to offer up yourself living. And then Yahusha says, okay, I'm going to provide you the blood. You have confessed. You have repented. You have turned. And I'm going to go into the Yavaniym with the sacrifice. That's my blood. I'm going to sprinkle it upon the altar, and the Yavaniym, and Yahuah is going to meet me inside the holies of holies. He's going to be satisfied. People of the book, Yahuah is saying, wake up and return. Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, I give you the praise and the glory for your Shabbat. I worship you on this, your Shabbat. Yahuah, I pray in the name of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach that you would take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue and reign. Allow me not to cause anyone to be turned out of the way, anyone to come up lame, anyone to stumble. Yahuah, I am in this for your Ruach Ha'Qodesh, for the witness of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, called to redeem my brethren, called to reach the other nations, those who you have chosen to receive this witness. It's only a remnant, Yahuah. It's only a remnant that's going to be gathered. It's going to be only a remnant that's going to be taken. It's only a remnant that's going to be able to participate in your kingdom. Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, I pray that you would allow the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart to be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuah, you are my strength and my redeemer. In the name of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, listen. We're listening to none other than Hezekiah. The song is entitled, Only a Remnant. Listen, Yahshua and Yahudah, you better wake up. You better wake up and return. Return in the turning to Yahuah through faith in Yahusha. Listen, that's the only way you go receive this Yeshua, this salvation, right? This is the only way you going to return to Yahuah. Listen, you got to recognize this. You got to recognize this. You got to recognize this. There is faith that is required in emunah, in the witness of what Yahuah has said, even in the prophets, of concerning Yahusha Ha'Mashiach. How Dawid said, Yahuah said unto Yahusha, sit down on my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. Yahuah has sworn and will not repent. Yahusha is a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. He is Yahuah's salvation. He is the method by which you must return. Time for you to return. Listen, it's time to return. It's not enough just to wake up and know that you're the people. It's not just enough to wake up to recognize yourself in this book. You have to identify with the sufferings and the tribulations of your ancestors, right? Yeah, you got to relate to that. But listen, you can't do what they did. You got to wake up. You got to be established. You got to return. Listen, none other than Hezekiah, only a remnant. I don't know the rights to this music. Listen, Yahshua, Yahudah. Listen, this is about being a part of Yahuah's family. It's not enough to know that you are Yahudah. Listen, the only people that are going to make it into Yahuah's kingdom are those who receive the witness of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach. You can't get around that. You can't get around that. You can't get around that. You can't get around that Hebrew. You can't get around. You can't get around that Gentiles. You can't get around getting in to Yahuah's kingdom in any other way or method except through Yahusha Hamashiach's witness, the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, the water, and the blood. Yahusha himself says you must be born again of the water and of the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Yahuah said he was going to sanctify us among the heathen. Listen, the only way to be set apart is by his Ruach Ha'Qodesh and having received his witness. You got to receive his witness. And it ain't Christianity. So listen, if you think that you're a Christian and you're going to be established and make it into heaven, oops, oh, no, you're not. The only way you're going to get in is through faith in Hamashiach and keeping his Besorah and Yahuwah's Torah. You got to. You ain't going to make it if you worshiping on a Sunday. No, you ain't going to make it because his Shabbat is a Shabbat of eternal rest. You have to keep his Shabbat. You got to walk in the Ruach. You got to be led by the Ruach. Listen, you can't lay the grounds to repentance. You better wake up. You better wake up. You better wake up and listen, Bruce. Christianity is not what we do. It is so far away from the witness of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach and its trickery and treachery. Listen, you got to shake that idea and them concepts loose. Your assemblies can't mirror that. He said, say it again. Your assemblies cannot mirror that because this is not that. This is not that. This is not that witness. This is not that witness. You gotta wake up, bro. Bro, you gotta wake up. You gotta wake up. You gotta wake up. You gotta wake up. You gotta get a bruised clue. You gotta get a bruised clue. You have to wake up. Yahuah is established Yahusha's method through the priesthood after the order of Melchizedek, he who was the lamb that was slain before the foundations of the earth. Yahuah said, behold the lamb of Yahuah that taketh away the sins of the world. He was speaking in reference to Yahusha Ha'Mashiach. One lamb, one sacrifice, into the Shamayim one time, to the tabernacle, not made with hands, in the Shamayim one time, and to the holies of holies where Yahuah met him one time for your sins. Listen, you got to receive this witness. Because if you don't, you're going to die in your sins, just like your fathers. Just like your fathers. You're going to die in your sins, just like your fathers. You're going to die. If you happen to die before he returns, you're going to close your eyes and wake up in Sheol. You're going to die. And listen. You better recognize Yahuah is not a respecter of person. Oh no, he ain't a respecter of person, bro. He ain't gonna respect you and give you something that you have to receive in emunah through faith in Yahusha Ha'Mashiach just because you Hebrew. No, you bumped your head. You lost your mind if you think Yahuah is going to provide you a special concession having not received the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. It ain't going to happen. The Gentiles got to receive the witness. You got to receive the witness. He's chosen amongst his people. And he's chosen from amongst the Gentiles. Listen, you just better be a part of those who he has chosen. Yeah. Otherwise, listen. You're going to be like the chaff. You're going to be like that branch that's cut off from the vine. Yeah. You're going to be them thorns and them briars that's going to be gathered to be burned. Yeah. That place is reserved for those who will not receive the witness. Yeah. Listen. Just because you go to the land don't mean you're going to get into the kingdom. Yeah. All of us can return back to the land, but if you don't have faith in Yahusha Mashiach and have received the witness of Ruach Ha'Qodesh, listen, you may be in a land, but you won't get into Yahuwah's land. Oh, yeah. And this kingdom is coming. And it's coming to Africa. It's coming. Oh, yeah. But you ain't going to just walk up in there. You ain't going to just have access to it. No. You got to have the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. You got to have the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. You have to have that, which will give you a freedom from the consciousness of sin, because Yahusha through his blood has removed the consciousness of sin, right? And you have received this Ruach Ha'Qodesh, which is the Father and the Son in you, right? It's a down payment to the time that he completely changes you, right? Which was going to ultimately get you into the kingdom of Yahuah and Yahusha, because it's a righteous kingdom. It's coming from the Shamayim. And you know ain't nothing that's impure and unrighteous getting into the kingdom, right? Nothing. You got to come through the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. You have to come through the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. Ain't nothing unrighteous getting in the kingdom. Oh, but I've returned to Yahuah. How? How? What high priest did you go through? What sacrifice did he offer for you? What tabernacle did he go in? What method of ceremonial washings did he do? Right? And did he get into the holies of holies? Right? And if he did Yahuah meet him in the holies of holies? There's only one way to return, and that's through faith in Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, and you got to receive it in Emunah. Yeah. You got to receive this in Emunah, right? Your forefathers had the privilege of seeing the process. But see, you got to receive the process in Yahusha Ha'Mashiach in Emunah. You got to believe that Yahuah has already established a method for you to return that is better than that of Aaron. Yeah. You got to understand that the method of return in Yahuah is better than that of Moshe. Oh, yeah. You got to believe that Yahuah has sent a high priest that has been made available to you, who has a sacrifice to offer on your behalf that is qualified, because in him ain't no sin, because you know Aaron, he had the consciousness of sin. Aaron could build a calf one day and become a high priest the next day, and Yahuah would accept him only because he went through a bunch of ceremonial washings and sacrificings of blood on a daily basis. But listen, had those things been he would be still building. He was still building calves. He still had the consciousness of sin that would cause him to build calves. Yahusha Mashiach is greater than that. Yahusha's witness is greater than that. There is no name given unto men whereby they must receive Yeshua, right? And at Yeshua, that name, Yahusha, Yah salvation, your knees is going to bow. Yeah, right. Your tongue's going to confess, right, that Yahusha Ha'Mashiach is Adonai, to the glory of Elohiym. Yeah, you gonna declare one time, one way or another. Yeah, you gonna declare. So listen, as you know, excuse me, we have exited Hebrews, and again, I encourage you to go back and listen to that whole letter to the Hebrew assemblies, right? Yahuah spoke a good, Yahuah declared a Besorah, a Torah by the Ruach Ha'Qodesh that brings clarity to the process, right? The return, right? Every Hebrew that's awakened, right, needs to go through those videos. Every Hebrew that is awakened need to go through those videos, those YouTubes on Hebrews, right? I'm telling you, it was Ruach. It was Ruach. You need to go through those and let Yahuah bless you, right? It was Paul's letter to the Hebrew assemblies concerning Yahusha Ha'Mashiach and how he is in the volume of the book, right? And he showed you how Yahuah is in the volume of the book. Yahusha is in the volume of the book. Man, if y'all woman, if y'all listen, take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Okay, so we're in Romans, right? Paul's letter to the church at Rome. Now, I said some things in reference to Paul and having written this letter possibly from Jerusalem, right, where he was in prison with Festus Felix. I'm not too certain about that in reference to where he was at the time that that letter was written. But from the way that he speaks of it, it's not in it's not in Rome. It's not in Caesar's house, right? So at some point in time, Paul wrote a letter to the Romans, Gentiles, who had received the witness. And there was a point in which, Paul was locked up from that time that he was with Felix, Festus, and Agrippa, up until the time that he ended in Rome. There were several stops, several places. Paul may have gotten wind of what was, or the progress that had made its way into Rome, right? So the idea is that the word had reached Rome, right? But see, Yahuah had Paul to go to Rome, right, to testify in Caesar's house, because there was something significant about what Paul was going to give to Caesar at his house, right? So let's go into Romans, the first chapter. Now, the first chapter, pretty much up until about the, I think about the fourth verse, is Paul really just establishing who he is. He is establishing that, he's called to be a servant. And listen, I am a servant of Yahuah, right? I do this in the Ruach Ha'Qodesh as a servant to Yahuah, right? I don't do this for my benefit, right? I don't produce YouTube videos just to hear myself, right? I don't do it for accolades, right? I don't do it to receive applause, right? Because it's the truth be told, for people are loving you. Listen, you have to ask yourself, okay, if this Besorah of truth, this witness, is going to pull people to Yahuah, or it's going to cause people to go away from Yahuah, it's going to either cause people to love the Besorah that you preach, or despise you for the Besorah you preach. At any rate, whatever Yahuah has will be manifested. Whatever Yahuah shows or reveals, it's going to be manifested. And, it's all about being a servant, right? I don't do it for any other reason than to know that Yahuah's word, the witness of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, is going forth, right? And that there are people that are receiving this witness, right? There's people that are going to have an ear to hear the word of Yahuah. They're gonna have an ear to hear. They're gonna receive the witness. They're gonna receive it, and they're gonna, with gladness, and obey it, and produce fruit from it, right? Because that's the goal. That's the objective. As a servant of Yahuah, right? And, he speaks in reference to Yahusha being the son, Yahusha being the son of Elohiym, which was made of the seed of David. So we know that Yahusha's ancestry, right, falls in the lineage of David, right? We know Yosef, his father, Joseph, right, his father in the flesh, of which his mother was married to, of which he was the son of Yahuah and Elohiym in her womb. He was the son of Yahuah in her womb when he was introduced into the world. Mary was married to Joseph, which you are of your father, right? Joseph. Now, and Mary also, again, it's the nation, they generally married, or they were commanded to marry, of the same tribe, right? bolster that tribe, right? So the idea would be that Joseph married Mary, who was of the same tribe, right? But we also know that Mary and Elizabeth were cousins, right? Which would suggest that if we looked at it in relationship to cousins from a that's a European standpoint, because I'm not sure it's an Hebraic concept, but the idea is that you are either cousins by your mother or your father, right? At any rate, if they were cousins, right, then that would make Mary's mother and or father of the tribe of Levi, because we know that because Elizabeth and her husband was a high priest, or her husband was a priest. He wasn't a high priest. He was a high priest. He wasn't a high priest. He was a priest over service. He lit the incense. I mean, that was his servicely duty as a priest. And the Levites had to marry women that were Levi, right? Which would again make if it was Mary's cousin, right, then Elizabeth's mother or father, right, or his father's, her husband's mother or father had to be relatives, first, had to be brothers or sisters. You know, we understand the concept of cousins, right? So that would mean that, you know, Mary would have possibly been Levi, right? Of the tribe of Levi, right? But Joseph was a descendant of Yaakov. I mean, who was a descendant of Yehuda, right? Joseph. But, right, we understand, according to Luke's gospel, when he traces the genealogy back up, he traces Mary, I think, all the way up to Adam and Eve, right? And the idea is that if Mary was of that same lineage, she was still, the idea is that Mary would still be still Yehuda, right? But this is the deal. If she was Levi, if she was Yahudah, it would still correspond to the nature of which Yahusha was, of the tribe of Yahudah, king, and of and a high priest after the order of Melchizedek, Yahuah, under the priest, right? But you know, Yahuwah's priesthood was greater than Aaron's priesthood. And also too, you know, again, this is just thought. This is just thought. This is not Torah. This is thought, right? So, you know, the idea is that even if you wanted to suggest that there is the element of priesthood attached to Mary, you could. But if it's Yehuda, which probably is, then it's still Yehuda, still Yahusha, right? So we recognize that Yahuah is from the son of David, and you are what your father are. You are what your father are. You are what your father is, right? Right. So let's go on. He says, declared to be the son of Elohiym with power, according to the Ruach Ha'Qodesh of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead. Now, again, we bore witness to that in the Besorah of Mark and in the Besorah of Yehukanan, right? Because, you know, in Yehukanan, the first chapter, right? Actually, is it Yehukanan, the first chapter? I think it's Mark, the first chapter. Mark, the first chapter, yeah. Mark, the first chapter, starting at the 9th verse to the 11th verse. And it came to pass in those days that Yahusha came to Nazareth of Galilee to be baptized by Yahuah in the Jordan River. And straightway coming up out of the water, he saw the heavens open, and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh descending upon him like a dove. The Ruach Ha'Qodesh descending upon him like a dove. And there came a voice from the Shamayim saying, Thou art my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. Now, we understand here that it was declared to be the Son of Elohiym with power. Well, who declared that he was the son of Yahuah? Yahuah did, right? And with power. Why? Because he received the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Straightway coming up out of the water, saw the heavens open, and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, like a dove, descended upon him, right? Right? So we understand that, right? He says, according to the Ruach Ha'Qodesh of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead. We know that Yahuah had raised Yahusha from the dead. We also know in Yahuah, Yahuah testifies that in that first chapter, that 32nd verse, and Yahuah bore record, saying, I saw the Ruach Ha'Qodesh from heaven descending upon him like a dove, right? And it aboded on him, right? Yahuah said in that 29th verse, the next day Yahuah saw Yahusha Ha'Mashiach coming unto him and said, Behold, the Lamb of Elohiym, right? That taketh away the sins of the world. Yahuah testified to Yahusha and his purpose. He came as the Lamb of Elohiym to take away the sins of the world, right? He also knew, he says, and I knew him not, but that he should be made manifested to Yasharal. So Yahusha came to Yasharal. He said, that's what I know. Therefore, I came baptizing with water, because Yahuah told me to baptize with water as a priest, because you know Yahuah was a priest. Yahuah the immerser, his father was a priest, his mother was a Levi. He was a priest. Yahuah was really qualified in the priesthood to baptize. Yahuah told him to go and baptize. Yahuah was baptized with the Ruach Ha'Qodesh from his mother's womb. Listen, he said, and I knew him not, but he that sent me to baptize with water said unto me, upon whom thou shalt see the Ruach Ha'Qodesh descending and remaining on him, the same is he that baptizes with the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. So Yahuah's approval was set on Yahusha. Yahuah testified to it there. Yahusha testified to it in Mark, that first chapter, the 9th through the 11th verse, right? So Yahusha was raised from the dead by Yahuah, by the power of the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, right? Yahusha, right? He said, by whom we've received grace and apostleship, right? We have received favor, right? We have received this grace, right? We've received this from Yahuah, from Yahusha, and received it, right? And along with this witness, this grace, and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh came the responsibility. The responsibility was to be an apostle. Me receiving the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, right? The witness, the grace, this grace, right? Caused me to preach and to teach this witness. That's what that witness did for me. I am a servant to this witness. Listen, everybody who receives the witness of Yahushua Ha'Mashiach is a servant to the witness in some capacity, shape, or form. That's why in this witness, by the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, he gave some apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some preachers, some teachers, right, for the edification of the entire nation. Not just a local assembly, but the entire nation. To the reaching of the entire nation. To a reaching to the Gentiles who are going to come to us for this witness. That's what I'm telling you, Bruce. this witness has to be preached. We have to be servants of this witness. We have to be servants of this witness. We can't be sitting up in some assembly with 30 people and saying, "Oh well, you know, I'm the moray of this. I'm the leader of this assembly." Listen, Yahusha ain't never sat in no assembly and established a witness and stayed there. He was always trying to reach his people in this dispensation. He was trying to get them to understand that they must receive the witness. We had to do the same thing. You know, in some respects, you know, this means of communicating, this Besorah is good, but it makes one lazy, right? You feel like you can get the job done by doing just this and not pound the pavement, not put boots on the ground, you know, not getting out and making an effort to bring this Besorah, this gospel, you know, and if the truth be told, you know, this is a safe place to be. Oh yeah, in this chair, in this room, on this YouTube, this is a safe place to bring the witness. Hey, you get out and start talking to people about the witness. And you start to run into the things that Shaul ran into. Right? Yes, there's victories and you're going to win people. But listen, you're going to face hostility. Right? You're gonna get, you may get somebody to get bold and start calling your names on this. But all you got to do is delete what he puts in on the page. You know, delete a comment, right? Or if you're in a live, all you got to do is block them, right? Right? But when you get boots on the ground and get in the communities, you got to go with what you get. You know, you may get the hostility. You may get the. Listen, this Besorah must be preached. You better not fall into that comfortable place, right? You better not become slothful. Slothful, yeah, you be straight up slothful. All right, let's go. Let's move on. So we left off at that 18th verse, right? Now, I love Romans. Because Romans is, it's in your face. In your face, you got to understand that there's just some things that Yahuah is not going to tolerate. All right, let's go. He says, for the wrath, right? The wrath. We know the wrath, right? That word wrath in the Hebrew is, in the Greek is.
Strong's G 3709. Arge.
Arge, right? 3709. It's arge. It is anger and natural disposition, temper, character, anger, wrath, indignation, right? Anger exhibited in punishment, hence used for punishment, right? Wrath now. It says wrath, right? This is the Greek word for wrath, right? The Hebrew word for wrath is Strong's letter 639. Af. A-P-H. I think that's how it's pronounced. Af. A-P-H. Right? The organ bearing the nostrils of the interior of the face. Nostril, when it's used in the plural, the meaning the anger from the... Okay, so it's like when you're angry, you flare your nostrils. So, you know, you get mad, you flare your nostrils, right? So that's the idea when you look at Yahuah, you know, and even in the cartoons, you know, you used to have those cartoons with the bulls, and the bulls would get mad, they would flare their nostril, and you know, they had that simulated smoke coming out of his nostrils, right? Well, the idea is it's the flaring of the nostrils, right, or the flaring of the nostrils, the sign in the face that that indicates, right, anger, right, from the flaring of the nostrils and the redness of the nose when angry, right, so we know that Yahuwah's flaring of the nostrils, we know that Yahuwah's anger, right, for the flaring of Yahuwah's nostrils, the redness of his nose, the anger that he exhibits is revealed from the Shamayim against all ungodliness, right? So everything that is not like Elohiym is ungodly. And everything ungodly, his wrath, his flaring of the nostrils, his anger, his exhibited anger is against the ungodly. Now, let's look at that word ungodly, right? The ungodly. What are the ungodly, right? Who are the ungodly, right? That Strong's Greek word is 763. 763. What's the etymology? 765 is the etymology. Yes, 765, yeah. So, the Greek word here is a want of revenge towards the ungodly. It is
Strong's G, 763.
763.
Asebaya. Asebaya.
Astebaya, right? Astebaya, right? It means a want of revenge towards Elohiym. Impiety, ungodliness, right? Ungodly. The etymology of that word is
Strong's G, 765. Asabase. Asabase.
asabase. It's one destitute of reverential awe towards Yahuah. You are destitute of reverential awe towards Yahuah concerning Elohiym's piety, right? Let's see what this one says. A lack of revering Yahuah, right? So, Yahuah has reserved wrath that he is going to reveal, he's going to show, right? That word reveal, to uncover. The Greek word for reveal is
Strong's G, 601. Apocalypto.
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 Apocalypto, or hence apocalyptic, right? Apocalo, or the apoco, laco. Derived from this word, apo.
Strong's G, 575. Apa.
Apa, or apa.
Apa.
It means to separate, of location, separate of a part from a whole, right? To separate, right? We know it is to uncover, to lay open what has been veiled or covered up. So he's going to reveal, uncover, right? Yahuwah's wrath is going to be uncovered from the Shamayim against all those who are irreverential, who do not revere Yahuwah, right? On all ungodliness and unrighteousness, right? The unrighteous are those who do not do what is right? The unrighteous violate Torah, right? He's listening, right? Unrighteousness.
Strong's G 93, Adikia,
right? It is a deep violating law and justice, an act of unrighteousness, not keeping or not regarding Yahuwah's laws. So everyone that does not regard Yahuwah's law is going to receive Yahuwah's justice for their injustice, because they did not reverence Yahuwah, right? Because you did not reverence Yahuwah, right? You are going to be the recipients of his unveiled wrath, right? His anger, right? His flaring of the nostrils, his physical show of anger, right? You're going to receive it. It's going to be yours, right? Now, the unrighteousness of men. So, you who are unrighteous, who do not reverence Yahuwah's Torah, right? Because righteousness is a result of keeping Torah. Let's go, let's do this. Cut it out, go lay down. Let's do this. No, what's that? Oh, no, that won't kill 118. Okay. Let's go 140, Psalms 119. Okay. He says, right? Psalms 119 and 42 concerning righteousness, right? Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, right? And thy Torah is truth, right? Righteousness is everlasting, Yahuwah's, right? Because Yahuwah's righteousness is attached to his law, Torah, which is truth, right? The righteousness of thy testimonies is everlasting, right? They give understanding to, they give me understanding, that's Psalms 119 and 44, and I shall live, right? Where's another one? Get here. Let's do this. Let's do this. Righteousness, right, was ascribed to Abraham because he believed the word of Yahuah. He says, and he believed in Yahuah, and it was counted unto him as righteousness, right? Psalms, let me see. Psalms 9 and 8. And he shall judge the world in righteousness, because he does, or he is what is righteous, right? And he shall minister judgment to the people in uprightness, right? That's Yahuah, right? Psalms 11 and 7. For the righteous loveth, for the righteous Yahuah loveth. No, for the righteous Yahuah loveth righteousness, right? And his countenance do behold the upright. So the upright are those who Yahuah considers righteous and who he loves, right? Righteousness. Psalms 18 and 20. Yahuah rewards me according to my righteousness, right? Or according to the cleanness of my hands haveth he recompensed me, right? Yahuah honors righteousness, right? Righteousness is doing what is right. It is being established in the truth of Torah. It is believing in Yahuah. It is believing and reverencing Yahuah. The unrighteous do not believe Yahuah. They do not reverence Yahuah. And they do not keep his commandments. They do not keep his Torah. Right? Now, let's go on. He says, right? And holdeth the truth in unrighteousness. Now, the ungodly and the unrighteous man holds the truth in unrighteousness, right? They do not receive the truth. They do not obey the truth, even though they know it's the truth, right? Because they're unrighteous. It's not that they don't know the truth. They just don't hold the truth. They just don't obey the truth. They just do not reverence Yahuah that gives the truth. They choose to not reverence, choose to not believe in Yahuah. Right? He said, listen. Because that which may be known of Elohiym is manifested in them. Listen, the truth of Yahuah is manifested. The truth of Yahuah is manifested in them that are the unrighteous. They know the truth. They just don't do the truth. They don't want the truth. Because that which may be known of Elohiym is manifested in them, but Elohiym hath showed it unto them. Yahuah shows the truth. The truth has to be received and believed in and followed in Emunah. And Yahuah, as you obey his truth, right, considers you righteous. As you believe in this truth, you walk in this witness. You are established in the word of Yahuah, right? For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Listen, Yahuah has revealed himself. This world know who's Yahuah. They know who Yahuah is. Yahuah has manifested himself. Yahuah has revealed himself. Listen, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. You can see what Yahuah has made. You can see it. You can witness to it. It's seen, right? And understood by the things that are made. Listen, you understand things that Yahuah has made. We understand it. We understand the functioning of things. They're clearly seen. By the things that are made, his eternal power, his Elohim, his Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So Yahuah, Yahusha, and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh made it all. Right? And it's seen. Clearly seen. Right? It's clearly seen. Right? It was clearly presented. Right? But listen. The problem is, because that when they knew Elohiym, right, they didn't glorify him. They didn't reverence him. They didn't revere him. They didn't esteem him. They didn't believe him and have it be counted unto him as righteousness, right? They didn't receive his witness. They didn't acknowledge his testimonies, right? Right? Because when they knew Elohiym, they glorified not as Elohiym, neither were they thankful, but became vain in their own imaginations. See, listen, unregenerate man, you who have not received the witness of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, he's speaking about you. Speaking in reference to you. Right? Right? You know, you clearly understand a creation. You clearly understand there's a power that has been created, that has established and put the things that we see now in order, right? It just didn't happen. It was something that had to have happened. It was an Yahuah, that made this happen. Him and the Godhead, the Ruach Ha'Qodesh and the Son together, right? Established, right? These things that we see and witness, right? But the problem is that instead of giving Yahuah the glory for what he has done, right, you felt like in your own imagination, right, there has another reason. And you became vain. Your thought process was vanity. See, and that's why when Yahuah created Adam and Avah, right, with the Ruach Ha'Qodesh and Yahusha, and he put his Ruach Ha'Qodesh in them. They had everything they needed to serve in Yahuah's kingdom, right? Had everything they needed, right? They had the wisdom, they had the understanding, they had the knowledge, right? They had the Ruach of Yahuah, the Ruach of wisdom, the Ruach of understanding, the Ruach of knowledge, right? They had Ruach of Yahuah, Ruach of wisdom, understanding, Ruach counsel, Ruach might, Ruach of knowledge, right? They didn't have a fear of Yahuah, right? Because they just knew him as Yahuah, right? Because fear, right, is attached to, right, the knowledge of good and evil, right? There was no knowledge of good and evil. So they had the Ruach of Yahuah on the inside. They had wisdom, they had understanding, they had knowledge, but what caused Eve problems was her own understanding. Instead of just relying on what Yahuah said, Yahuah did not tell us that we couldn't eat of the trees that were in the garden. Yahuah said we couldn't eat of the tree that was in the midst of a garden, the tree of good and evil. Now, had she said that to Hasatan, and Hasatan continued to press her, right? And she told Adam and Adam dealt with Hasatan, and or Yahuah dealt with Hasatan, right? Then we wouldn't have been in this predicament. But because she reasoned, right, in her mind that this was okay, she became vain. She allowed a seed to be sown and meditated on it. Because, you know, that whole garden experience wasn't like a 5-minute, that wasn't like a 5-minute thing. Listen, you look at Hasatan, took his time. He had time. He was slow walking her. She had time to think that thing through. She didn't tell Adam that Hasatan had spoken to her. No. Right? Hasatan had spoken a word to her about the tree. Right? She didn't go to Adam and say, look, Adam, I had a conversation with Hasatan. Serpent. You know? He was saying how, you know, the Yahuah didn't say we can eat of the tree. I told him what Yahuah said. Right? Right? Then Hasatan came back to her again. Right? Hey, Yahuah knows that you won't surely die when you eat of the tree. He just knows that the day that you eat it, you'll be like him, knowing good and evil. Now, he was like Yahuah, but the element of good and evil, they didn't have. There was no need to have the good because Yahuah was all good and that was already in him, right? But the evil, the sin, right? The wickedness, the carnality of it, right? She was like, okay, what does that look like? So, you know, she entertained that for a while. She didn't tell Adam. The process was over time. She ate the apple, or she ate the fruit. She took the fruit. She handled the fruit. She saw, reasoned in her mind that it was good for food. Even though Yahuah told her not to eat it. She saw, she reasoned in her mind, oh, this is good for food, right? Having listened to the lie of Hasatan, which was partly true because they would die, but they weren't going to die quickly, right? And who's to say that she even knew what death was? Maybe Yahuah had told her what death was. Listen, they became vain in their imaginations. They saw what they thought to be something good, and they violated Yahuah's Torah in the process. He said, because they knew not Eloah, he says, because that when they knew Eloah, right, they glorified not as Eloah, and neither were thankful. Because, you know, it's the same thing with Abel and Cain, right? Abel showed his gratitude to Yahuah. He offered Yahuah the yearlings of his flocks and the fat of his flocks, because he believed Yahuah, and he became a mediator, offering sacrifices. Right? He had faith in Yahuah. He had emunah in Yahuah. Right? Whereas Cain, he didn't have anything. He was vain in his imagination. He just gave Yahuah a bunch of fruit. He gave him what he thought he wanted to give him. Right? Cain represents that vainness. Right? Knowing that Yahuah was Yahuah, but he didn't honor him as Yahuah. He bought a bunch of vegetables and fruit when he needed to bring a sin offering and a sacrifice that would make him pleasing to Yahuah. Right? He said, listen, because they knew not Elohiym, because that when they knew Elohiym, they glorified him not as Elohiym, right? Neither were thankful, but became vain, right? Vain, that word vain in the Greek.
Strong's G 3154. Matayao.
Mateo.
Matayao.
They became empty. They became foolish, right? They had truth, but they didn't want the truth. They wanted what they felt. They wanted what they thought. Yahuah has always given man a Torah. He's always given man a word that govern behavior. Listen, Yahuah always gave man a Torah that was to govern behavior. He gave them sacrifice in lieu of the once and for only sacrifice, Yahusha. And the sacrifice was to cover sin, right? And if you were obedient unto the word which he said and the sacrifices was made, then you would be considered righteous because you believed what Yahuah said and you demonstrated in faith by your actions presenting a sacrifice which made you acceptable. But they were vain in their imaginations. Imaginations in the Greek.
Strong's G 1261. Dialogismas.
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 I ain't gonna say that again. The thinking of a man deliberating with himself. The thinking of a man deliberating with himself. You know how many times, you think about it. How many times has Hasatan literally introduced a thought into your head and you began to have a conversation with yourself. You deliberated with yourself in reference to something that he was moving you into to do. Imagination. In the world they say, well, imagine this, right? As if the imagination is going to be the reality, right? Right? Man became vain, right, in their thinking, deliberately. Him deliberating with himself, his thought, his inward reasoning, right? His questioning, his arguing, his disputing within himself. What they call that? They call that self-talk. Being vain in your imagination, right? Self-talk. That's what they call it, self-talk. He says, because that when they knew Elohiym, they glorified him not as Elohiym. They didn't accept Yahuah's Torah. They didn't accept his word because they were unrighteous, right? Because they were ungodly. They didn't reverence Yahuah. They didn't revere Yahuah, right? Neither were they thankful. They weren't thankful to Yahuah. But they became vain, right? Empty, right? In their imaginations, in their self-talk, in their deliberation, and their foolish hearts, because it's foolishness, right? It's foolish to trust your heart. Because your heart can be darkened, right? if you don't have emunah in Yahuah and Yahusha, right, and you don't have the Ruach Ha'Qodesh on the inside of you, right, you don't have Yahusha's word, and you don't keep his Torah, and you haven't received his Ruach HaQodesh, you can't trust your heart. It's deceitfully wicked. He said, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. They professed wisdom. Not the wisdom that comes through faith and obedience to the Torah of Yahuah, right? Not the wisdom that comes through the Ruach HaQodesh and the Ruach HaQodesh of truth, the Ruach of wisdom, right? But their own wisdom, right? Which only caused them to be fools. Because in their own deliberation, in the way they think, in the way they process, right? It's contrary to or in opposition to the Besorah and the Torah of truth of Yahuah. So the Torah and the Torah and the Besorah of truth of Yahuah and Yahusha is life, it's peace, it's medicine, it's the word of Yahuah, right? Wisdom. It's the Ruach of Yahuah, the Ruach of wisdom, the Ruach of understanding, counsel, might, the Ruach of knowledge, the Ruach of the fear of Yahuah. These things, these Ruachal things, right, are wisdom. The Torah, the Besorah, is wisdom. Listen. Professing themselves to have wisdom, they become fools. Because they're fools because they are not reverencing the word of Yahuah. They're fools because they don't keep the Torah of Yahuah. They're fools because they think that they know better than Yahuah. They're fools because they're influenced in their hearts, are deceitful and wicked, because apart from Yahuwah's Torah, there is no righteousness. Apart from Yahuwah's witness in the Ruach HaQodesh in Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, there's no purity in conscience, in heart. You're darkened. You're deceived. And your foolishness is going to leave you to change the glory of the incorruptible Elohiym, right, into an image like unto corruptible man. So what you're going to do is, instead of acknowledging Yahuah as Elohiym, right, and reverencing him as the creator, as the object of your reverence and your worship, in your own imagination, you are going to develop these ideas of an El that suits your foolish thinking. You're going to come up with your own idols, right? You're going to come up with your own ideas of Els. You're going to start attaching Els to things, right, in place of giving Yahuah, Elohiym, the reverence that is due him, because he created it all. And you know this, right? But because you think you're wise, because of your ability to deliberate, your ability to process, right? Like Eve thought that, yeah, okay, this apple, it don't look bad. It don't. It's not bad to the touch, right? Let me take a bite. Don't taste bad, right? Let me give it to Adam, right? He took a bite. Oh, yeah, it don't taste bad. But what it did was it established right, this violation to the Torah of Yahuah that set in motion this sin that is in man and this consciousness of sin that can only be eradicated in Yahusha Mashiach's witness. Now, it could be covered as long as you continue to obey Yahuwah's Torah and you have accepted the sacrifices. You presented the sacrifices that were pleasing in his sight. But if you don't do that, then you're vain in your imagination. Your heart is darkened. You're going to do whatever comes to you in your mind. You're going to worship everything and not Yahuah. You're going to reverence everything and not Yahuah. You're going to put more credence in what someone else says instead of what Yahuah says, right? You're vain in your imagination, right? You're vain in your imagination. Listen, right? You're going to change the glory, right? The glory. Let's look at that word, glory. The glory. I know they got this one.
Strong's G, 1391. Doxa.
Right? Doxa. It means the opinion, judgments, and views. The opinions estimated whether a good or bad concerning someone. Right? Glory. Right? That's the Greek. Right? That's the Greek. Right? That's the Greek. I don't like that one. Okay, so they changed the glory. The Hebrew word, the Hebrew letter, Strong's number is 3519. It is armament, right? The arms, the equipment of a soldier or military unit, right? From a root meaning heavy and often parallel with the weapon, figurative of power. So, they changed the power of Yahuah, the arm of Yahuah, the authority of Yahuah. They changed it of the incorruptible Yahuah, right, to an image made like unto corruptible man. Apollo, Zeus, Hercules, Odin, Thor, these deities, Baal, Isis, Diana, right? They changed the glory, the power, the arm, the strength, the authority, the armor, the righteousness of Yahuah, right, into the images made like unto man and to birds and the four-footed beasts and creeping things. You know, Egyptians worshipped everything. They worshipped bugs. They worshipped animals. They worshipped half men, half animals. Right? Baal. Right? Baal is a cow with female breast. Listen, they became vain in their imaginations. They established these deities and they worshiped them. They reverenced and revered them more than they did Yahuah. And they knew Yahuah. But they felt like they knew better. You know, and Hasatan and the sin nature helped reinforce that. Oh yeah, that sin nature helped reinforce that, because you know, they didn't even have the sin nature when Eve yielded, right, gave and surrendered her dominion and Adam's dominion over to Hasatan. When they yielded and surrendered their dominion, right, they had a place and a mind of righteousness that was right. But when they yielded it, they became sin conscious, right? And in that sin conscious, that sin consciousness state, their processing of things, right, is unrighteous. You had to have a Torah now to govern what you needed and how you needed to think and how you needed to conduct yourself. And you had to have a means of sacrifice in order to maintain a relationship with Yahuah. Listen, and they didn't do it. That's why Yahuah destroyed the world the first time. All he had was one man, Noah, and his 3 sons and their wives and his wife. Listen, they became fools thinking that they were wise. They became fools thinking they were wise. Became vain in their imaginations. Right? Heart darkened. They changed the strength, the power, the glory of a living Yahuah. Right? And made it like unto man. Listen, that's why Yahuah says, this is the reason why Yahuah says, and Yahuah, Exodus 20:1, and Eloah spake all these words, saying, I am Yahuah thy Eloah, which hath brought thee out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other else before me. He had to reestablish himself as superior El in Yaakov, who he had selected from out of the entire race of humanity to put his name and command them to serve him as El, to be an example of his kingdom to come in the arrest. Right? Thou shalt have no other else before me. But see, they became vain in their imaginations. Right? Professing themselves to be wise, they fools. Right? They've changed the glory of the incorruptible Yahuah into the image made to corruptible man and birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Yahuah said, and thou shalt have no other else before me. Right? Now they were doing this from the time of Adam to the time of Noah, from the time of Noah up until the time of Abraham. Yahuah had established Yaakov out of Abraham's seed, a people who he has chosen from amongst Ham and Japheth and Shem, his people, Shemites of the lineage of Adam, or of the lineage of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, the progenitor of the 12 tribes, a people who is supposed to be his people, who were to walk in obedience, to keep his Torah, to offer blood sacrifices, for without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sin. There is no covering of sin. There is no righteousness. Yahuah received Abel's sacrifices and deemed him righteous because he kept a Torah that Yahuah had given to his father and his mother, and he honored Yahuah and loved Yahuah and reverenced Yahuah and gave Yahuah sacrifices. Cain, on the other hand, was vain in his imagination. He bought a bunch of fruit and a bunch of vegetables when it came time to offer an offering unto Yahuah, and Yahuah refused it. He's vain in his imagination. He knew what he was supposed to do. Cain knew what the expectation was, but he didn't do it. He became vain in their imagination, right? Right? Listen. Verse 4 of that chapter 20 of Exodus. Thou shalt not make any graven images or any likenesses of anything that is in the Shamayim above or in the earth beneath or that is in the waters under the earth. Right? Thou shalt not bow thyself down unto them, neither serve them. For I am Yahuah, thy Eloah, and am a jealous Eloah, visiting the iniquities, right? Those who transgress this Torah and choose to have graven images and worship them and put them above Yahuah, right? I am going to visit the iniquities, the sins, right, of the father upon the children to the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and shall show mercies unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Listen, Paul said, listen, they didn't want to retain this in their knowledge. Listen. He says, they changed the glory, the authority, the arm, the power, the armor of Yahuah, of an incorruptible Eloah, to an image like unto corruption, right? Yahuah is incorruptible because he's eternal. He'll never decay. He'll never die. He'll never pass away. Yahuah Eloah liveth forever. Yahusha liveth forever. The Ruach Ha'Qodesh is forever, right? And we who receive the witness of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, we will live and reign forever. He said, but listen, they changed the glory of the incorruptible Eloah to an image made like unto corruptible man, and the birds and the four-footed beasts and creepy things. They do that now. There's nothing new under the sun. They're doing this now. This is done now. Sorry, y'all. This irritates my head and my ears. Sorry. They doing this now. He says, listen, wherefore Eloah also gave them up to uncleanness. Eloah says, okay, if that's what you want to do, you go do it. But you got to understand, I'm going to reveal judgment. I'm going to have my justice. I'm going to have justice. I'm going to visit the iniquities of the fathers unto the sons to the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He gave them up. He chose a people, Yaakov. He gave his laws to us. And all we needed to do was obey them, sacrifice for sins, priest, just obey, right? But we did. We wanted what the other nations wanted. We wanted to have what the other nations have. His people. Called by his name. Paul is speaking to the Gentiles. Right? To the Gentiles. See, we can understand this because we understand what we did, because we did what the Gentiles did. We had a greater penalty, right? Because we received his Torah. We were given instructions, specific instructions on what to do and how to do it. Now they had the same information. Right? They knew of the living Eloah. They just chose not to reference him as Yahuah Eloah. He said, wherefore Eloah gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts. So Yahuah said, okay, I'm just going to let you do what you want to do. Let your imaginations run wild. I'm going to let you be disposed to your thoughts, these imaginations that you think, right? Because you become wise in your own eyes. You have become vain in your imagination. You done convinced yourself in your self-talk that this is okay. Right? You gave your heart to lust. Right? Let's look at this. Okay. Let's go back. As a matter of fact, let's go to this. He says, wherefore also Eloah gave them up to uncleanness. What is uncleanness? Right? Let's look at that word uncleanness.
Strong's G 167. Akatharsia.
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 Akatharsia means uncleanness. It's physical uncleanness. It's moral uncleanness. It's impurity of lust, luxurious, prolificated living. Okay, now, let's do this. This is G 167. G 167, right? The etymology of that word is G 169, right? That is
Strong's G 169. Akarthartas. Akarthartas.
Right? Not cleaned or not cleansed, unclean. In a ceremonial sense, that which must be sustained from according to the Levitical law, right? So the priest had to clean, had to be washed, right? In a moral sense, unclean is the thoughts of life. Okay, let's look at the word in the Hebrew. The Hebrew equivalent is 2931. What is morally or physically impure, dirty, filthy. Dirty, filthy, right? So, Yahuah gave them over to their dirty, filthy, lustful hearts. Let's look at that word lust. Right? That Greek word for lust is
Strong's G 1939. Epithumia.
Epithumia. It means desires, cravings, longing, desires for what is forbidden. A desire for what is forbidden. Right? What is forbidden. Right? I see in the Hebrew. See if we got the Hebrew in here. 19. I'm sure this one's in here. I'm sure it's in here. Either that or the etymology of the word. It's in here. Okay, 1939. 1939 is in here. The strong Hebrew is 2530, right? It is to crave, to have a strong inward desire for something, right? It's also Hebrew word 8378. It's a yearning, a longing, persistently, wistful or sadly, what is desired, whether good or bad, right? Lust, right? So here he has given you up, right? Right? He's given you up to uncleanness, dirty, filthy cravings that are in your heart, right? To dishonor your own bodies. How do you dishonor your own body, right? That word is
Strong's G 818. Atimazo.
atimazo. To treat your body in a dishonorable way, right? It's to insult your body, to treat it with contempt, right? Lust, right? Your body, right? To treat it with contempt, right? Right? He gave them up to their own, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, right? Themselves, right? To dishonor their bodies between themselves. Okay, what does that mean? What's that mean? Himself, herself, itself, themselves, right? Right. So, the idea is, because you refused to honor, reverence Yahuah's strength, his Torah, his truth, his creation, you chose not to honor Yahuah, but you became vain in your own imaginations, your self-talk, right? Right? You decided that a thing was good or bad, right? Instead of giving heed to the Torah. You decided whether or not something was good or bad because of how it made you feel, right? Even though your heart is desperately wicked, right? You decided that based on this feeling that you had, right, in your heart, that these feelings, these affections, right, right, these lusts, these uncontrollable, right, lust, this craving, longing, desire for what is forbidden. It's forbidden, right? It's forbidden, right? For what is forbidden, right? To dishonor their own bodies, to treat your body with contempt, to do that which is not natural in your body, right? And you did it between yourselves, right? Now, you used your body to do what was unnatural between yourselves. Now, these are the people who have contempt for Yahuah, who do not reverence Yahuah, do not reverence his Torah, do not reverence Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, do not reverence Yahuah as the creator of everything, but has chosen to make of themselves images, like unto men and creeping beasts, right? Like a Baphomet, right? That's that Babylonian L with the cow head, and I think that's him. All of these L's. Instead of reverencing Yahuah, who you know is Yahuah Lord. Yahuah gave you over. That's what you want, go ahead and have it, right? He said, who changed the truth of Elohiym, the Torah, right, to a lie. What's the truth of Yahuah? The truth of Yahuah is the word of Yahuah that was established from the time of Adam up until the end of creation. That's the truth. The Torah, the Besorah of truth. The Torah is the truth. Thy word is truth. Whatever Yahuah has spoken is truth. It is truth that Yahuah says a man shall leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, his woman, of whom he made man from the rib of man. Woman. It's a Torah. That's the truth. That's the recorded work. Right? But they changed it because they lusted in their hearts. Right. And they desired, right? Their heart was wicked, but they desired. Yahuah gave them over to the imaginations of their own. He let them fulfill that meditation in their head, that processing, that self-thought that says this is okay because, you know, it feels good. This is okay because it makes sense to me. Who changed the truth of Elohiym to a lie. They made it okay to do the opposite of what Yahuah said. They worshiped and served the creature more than the creator. See, because their elves made provisions for their imaginations to do whatever it is they wanted and felt good to them to do. Vanity. It's vain. The elves that they served made it okay, right, to change the Torah of Yahuah and make it into a lie. Not because the word of Yahuah is a lie, but because of by their actions, they lie, right, and do that which is opposite of what Yahuah had established as Torah truth. They changed it, right? They changed it. He says, they worshiped and served the creature more than the creator. Now we understand that Yahuah says, thou shalt not have any graven images, Exodus 20:4, and anything in the likeness of the Shamayim in the above and in the earth and even in the water underneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself down to them nor serve them, for I am Yahuah, thy Eloah, and am a jealous Eloah. Visiting the iniquities of the fathers unto the children to the third and fourth generation. I show mercies unto thousands of them that love me, that keep my commandments, right? So in keeping Yahuah's commandments, you're staying true to his truth. But in not keeping his commandments, right, and worshiping these other elves, right, Yahuah's giving you over to these elves in your own thoughts and imaginations as it relates to them. Right? Who changed the truth of Elohiym to a lie and worship and serve the creature, the things which he have created, or the things that they have made from the things that he created, right? Because you know they had men and half men and half birds, half men and half cow, half man, half woman, half cow, half man, half woman, half cow, half bird. They served the creature more than Yahuah, who created it, who is blessed forevermore. Yahuah is blessed forevermore. And Yahuah blesses those forevermore who serve him, he says, and shows mercies unto thousands of them that love him and keep his commandments. He has mercy. He blesses. He loves. Listen. He says, for this cause Yahuah gave them up to vile affections. Right? Vile affections. Vile. The Greek word
Strong's
is
G, 819. Atamia.
atamia. Dishonored. Ignominy. Disgraceful. Let me see if I got this. G9, 819. G819. Nah, they don't have a G. G820. I kind of figured that one's going to be in there. Let's say G820. Let's see what that word is. That's the etymology. Without honor, dishonor, base. Base. Right? Base. The definition of base. Base. That's not what I'm looking at. Yeah, I'm not talking about a military base. The lowest part or edge. The lowest part. That's about right. The lowest parts. The lowest form of conduct. The base. Yeah, you know, it's a military base. I know a military base. Base. Yeah. No, that's not what I want. Anyway, we gonna go on. Right? So, Yahuah, right? He gave them up to vile affections, right? You know what affections are, right? Affections are
Strong's G, 3806. Pathos.
pathos. That means, it says, whatsoever befalls one, whether it be be sad or joyful, calamity, mishaps, afflictions, afflictions of the minds, emotions and passions, afflictions of the mind, emotions and passions, right? Vile affections, right? Let me see if that G8. Let me see, G. No, it's not it. I'm going to get a more exhaustive one of these. Yeah. Right? So it says, for this cause, Yahuah gave them up to vile affections. We basically know what a vile affection is. Vile is base. It's like, it's disgusting. Right? Right? Affections. Right? For even their women also changed their natural use. Matter of fact. Let's stop here. I have to stop here. Because it's going to get intense. And I still have a Zoom that I have to do. Yahuah, I give you praise for your word. Yahuah, I give you praise for your Besorah, your Torah of truth. Yahuah, I give you praise for your Besorah, your Torah of truth. Yahuah, I give you praise for your Besorah, your Torah of truth. Yahuah, I pray that your people would hear your word. The letter to the church at Rome was to the Gentiles. I pray that they that hear this word would recognize the importance of being established in this witness, being made free from sin, knowing what this looks like, knowing what obedience to your word, your Torah and your Besorah looks like, and knowing what the absolute opposite, the lie, looks like. Yahuah, we can't be serving other elves. They can't be serving other elves and serve you. They can't have vile affections and serve you because you reserved it for wrath. Yahuah, I pray that your word would make alive, that would quicken, Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, I pray. That you would sanctify them in thy truth. That you would quicken them in thy truth. Yahuah, I trust your word. I trust you. I trust your word. In the name of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, I believe your word. I'm established in your word, your Besorah, your Torah of truth. Yahuah, I receive it in the name of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach. I pray for them, that their faith fail them not. I pray that they would be established in your truth. I pray that they would be made alive in the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. I pray it in the name of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach. The words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuah, you are my strength. Yahuah, you are my redeemer. You and you do I put my trust. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, listen. I know I closed that kind of abruptly. But listen. We the people of the book broadcast this went down. And I've yet to have a meet with my Zoom. So, the word of Yahuah to the assemblies in Rome. Hear the word of Yahuah. Allow the word of Yahuah to come alive in you and be established in this witness. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, with that I say, listen, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. We're going out to none other than Hezekiah. The song is titled Hold On. I don't own the rights to this music. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, be blessed today. Walk in the witness of Yahusha Ha'Mashiach, serve Yahuah on this day of rest, and be blessed. With that I say, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Blow your wings, protect your servants, Yah. Shalom.
Torah Guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.